Today we're going to think about pulling the motor here. A couple of reasons. First off, we're working on a little compound setup for the rabbit here. Quick walk around. Had this beat piece for a hot sec now. So yeah, today gotta swap transmissions because the output flanges are going bad on this one, and I got one sitting right there that's prepped and ready to go with some new seals and things, so it's not leaking. But you know, if we're gonna have the trans out, that means there's already two motor mounts, well, 3 motor mounts that have to come off, and this motor mount's loose anyways, like on the motor it's loose, so we're just gonna go ahead and yank it, I think, which isn't too bad. Already got that started. Radiator came out, gotta pull that anyhow. Gonna yank the battery here in a minute, and then honestly after that it's just a couple things and stuff. Pull the oil lines, throttle cable, everything attached to the transmission, and the turbos will probably have to come out before I go too much further. But we're gonna see if we can get everything disconnected from the transmission and all of this junk out of the way first, and then we'll take a crack at actually starting to pull some of these motor mounts. Okay, so we pulled the turbos off the manifold. I'll show you those in a second. We yanked the battery. We disconnected a bunch of stuff from the transmission already, like the connection point on the starter, and we also yanked our shift linkage, which is right back there. So this thing's just kind of chilling. But we're just about ready to take it in the garage a bit and jack it up, because the rest of it, to pull the transmission, gotta yank the axles off of it. Gonna do that from the bottom. Gotta take off the clutch cable and a couple things, and then we're getting there. The engine is pretty close to pulling too if I want to. It's just there's 1 or 2 wires I have to do, and I still gotta do the oil lines to the cooler and the fuel lines. Take a walk over here. Time lapse kind of cut it out, but here's the shift linkage. Nice mess. This is the weight that makes it feel nicer. Here's our new transmission. I just cleaned it up and painted it silver. It's one nice way to make things look nice. And here we have turbo 1 and 2. This little guy already got some high temp paint, so it's not rusting. This one is, though. If you ever do get turbos, highly recommend painting them before you install them, because they will rust, and then you have to do it after. As you can see, this is my not pretty, but we're getting there, rough fab job. This comes on here, so you know, get the compounds going. Yeah, so next gonna pull the car in. I'd rather push it in, and then we'll get to work pulling the transmission and the axles and such. Alright, so we got the car jacked up and the wheels off. So now, next thing I want to do is pull the axles. So to do that, we've got to disconnect them from the transmission and from the hubs. I'm not sure if we're going to have to yank a control arm in order to have enough room to get them out, but we'll see. So for me, that means taking off this nut, and for that I'm going to use an impact wrench. It's usually on there pretty good. But you can also chalk up your tire and take it off with a big old breaker bar while your wheel's still on. And then I have this brace underneath my body, you can see the black thing. I gotta pull that. That'll make it easier to get to the axles, and then we'll take those off and they should come right out. noise. Alright, so now we have the axles out. Yeah, no axles. They're pretty beat anyways, which I think why transmission flanges are wobbly and leaking. So now, because this thing's pretty easy, gotta pull the starter, and that's 2 bolts here that also hold the front engine mount. And then from there I'm probably gonna go for the rear engine mount, which is kind of back down there. You can see that. Yeah, there it is. It's like 3 or 4 bolts down there. And then we'll go for that one. But I think when we take off this last engine mount, we're gonna end up maybe hooking the whole thing up to the engine hoist. I'm not sure. We'll get there. 1, 2, skip a few. Here we are. We got rid of the front mount and the starter. We got rid of that rear mount. So if you look at this bad boy, you can basically rock the whole thing on these 2 engine mounts. So now I just need to disconnect those oil lines. It's gonna be a bit messy, and the gas lines or diesel, whatever, also messy. Then we'll jack this up, we'll pull that off and that motor mount, and then we'll yank the rest of the motor out, and then we should be good to go. Alright, I got the fuel lines taken off. I just kind of bent those up so they don't drip everywhere. I was just about to pull these oil lines off, and I'm almost positive this thing's gonna leak because it's kind of flat. But pro tip, plastic bags, rubber bands. I'm gonna just rubber band a corner of a plastic bag onto each end of this, and then, you know, I won't have oil dripping everywhere, so that'll be nice.
I used to think so, but I learned every day works towards it. Well, I used to think so.
There she is. Alright, so I didn't really have to pull the motor, but I need to dry fit some stuff for the turbos on the back. I wanted to check how the clutch was doing, and lets me tighten these pulleys if I need tightened, and especially tighten this engine mount. So there we are, out. Once you get all that junk out of here, it's like you can set a 10 up in there. Hell yeah. I was thinking about painting it, but I think we're gonna leave the engine bay for now because the rest of the car looks like dumpster anyway, so I don't see a reason to change it. I'm glad I pulled the trans. You can see it was leaking right down there, so I kept getting this drip from my car, and I wasn't sure if it was the oil pan leaking or the transmission, and it's definitely just the transmission. And then you can see, I don't want to dump all that, but essentially there's a little bit of play there, and there's enough play that the seal leaks oil as well, so this thing is dripping everywhere and making a mess. And so it's good we yanked that compared to this one, which should be cherry, no play at all. And I don't know about that seal, but hopefully it won't leak. I think that's it for this video. It's kind of long as it is, but we yanked the beauty here. I think next step is we're gonna dry fit some turbo stuff, try to make a cross brace to some of these bolts maybe. We gotta paint all this too because that looks terrible, it's rusting. Thanks for watching.